So, Necron Indomitus Box, what to take next? Well, Games Workshop have given us their top 5, but I say just no. It's time for a close look at the Beyond Indomitus Warhammer post and for me to share my top 5 tips for expanding your Necrons. And it's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. And if you're new to the channel and you want to learn about Necrons and more, then please subscribe and hit the bell button to turn on all notifications so you don't miss an upload. Okay, so expanding the Indomitus box sets for Necrons. Now this is a video that I planned to make once we knew more about the 9th edition Necron Codex, what is coming and some of the newer rules. However, Games Workshop have put up this post about Beyond Indomitus recommending 5 Necron units that you should get next, and well, I'm not that impressed with this article, and I would hate for all of the new Necron players to be guided by Games Workshop, in particular what they say in this article. Now, it's not all bad, however I do think that you can do better than what they're recommending here. Now, maybe this post is taking into account the new Necron Codex, however we don't know that, and the new Necron Codex isn't out until sometime in October, so I doubt that is the case. Plus, I'm sure this article must have been written quite some time ago. I'm sure Games Workshop do a lot of scheduling when it comes to their article posts, and I think that's quite prudent in this one because, well, 4 of the 5 units that they're recommending are out of stock and the other one isn't released yet. So I'm sure they didn't know that particular situation when they wrote this article, because they wouldn't be recommending units that of course people can't actually buy, or at least they can't buy them online. You might find them in your local hobby store. Anyway, let's have a look at the post, and as we do, I'm going to give you my views and my tips regarding what I think you should be looking at taking to expand your Indomitus box set. However, of course, when the new Necron Codex comes out, things will change, and I will revisit this video once that happens. But for now, I just want to give you the best options that I think you can take to expand your set and get ready for the 9th edition Codex. Okay, so first of all, there's a picture of the Necrons Indomitus half of the set, and then there's some writing from Games Workshop which basically says it's great that everyone's been able to get their Indomitus sets, possibly got 2 of them and split them with their friends, etc. Probably another indication that this article was written quite a while ago, because of course there was actually quite a kerfuffle when it came to the box set release. Now, talking of the box set, I now have my extra copy which I'm going to give away when I hit 20,000 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed yet, then now is a great time. Now, for the purposes of this article, they indicate that they're going to assume you have just 1 batch of Indomitus Necrons to work with, so we have to bear that in mind when we look at the article. So they say, without further ado, here are our top 5 tips, in no particular order, for additions to your Necrons collection. And the first one is the Ghost Ark, which, to be fair, is probably not a bad choice. However, let's read what they say about it first. Transport vehicles are always excellent choices, enabling you to swiftly relocate your units around the battlefield while protecting the valuable units they're carrying. Well, that isn't the case, because in many editions it's not even been worth taking a transport, particularly the Ghost Ark lately, as it hasn't had the open top keyword, which it did have when it was first released, but they took it away, which meant that your warriors inside couldn't shoot out of the tank. Now then they say, in addition to the ability to transport 10 Necron warriors, this little beauty can repair them too. What's more, if you assemble your shiny new Necron warriors with the more powerful Gauss Reaper, you can help to mitigate their shorter range. You can use a Ghost Ark to drop them off with their effective reach early in game. Pew pew pew. Okay, so that doesn't actually sound that good for the Ghost Ark in the future, because there's nothing about shooting them out of the vehicle. It's saying to drop them off in range. So I don't think the Ghost Ark is going to get the open-topped rule. Of course, I could be wrong, and maybe this article isn't using the 9th edition rules, it's using the 8th edition rules, which are of course playable in 9th edition until the new codex comes out. Now I can see where Games Workshop are coming from, selecting this unit as a good unit to expand the Indomitus set. After all, you get warriors in the set, and the Ghost Ark is very useful. And I would actually put this unit in my list. However, I'm going to put it in the list for other reasons. Looking at the Indomitus set here, well, there's a serious lack of long-ranged, good shooting power. And the Ghost Ark is a dual kit, which means you can make Doomsday Arks out of them as well as Ghost Arks. Now, I'd actually highly recommend that you magnetise these particular kits if you can. I do have a tutorial on how to do it, and I will link you up to that tutorial in the comments below. It's an old video, so yeah, the quality isn't that great, but the information in there is perfect to magnetise the Ghost Arks into Doomsday Arks and vice versa. And that would give you the option then to either take the Ghost Arks with your warriors or heavy support as tank busting, monster killing vehicles. Now again, we don't know what the anti-tank's going to be like in the new codex, but I do feel that the Doomsday Ark and Ghost Ark is going to be a good choice, and if you can magnetise them, like I said, that gives you options. Okay, so the next units they featured is Lichguard, which is quite interesting. Lichguard have been featured quite heavily in a lot of the artwork over the last few weeks. So GW are obviously trying to push this unit, and here they are again. So this is what they say. Rightly feared for their hitting power, the Lichguard are among the deadliest melee units available to Necrons. However, there is more to them than the brutal profile and awesome war gear. Well, that is true, because they're not just a melee unit. For starters, their Guardian Protocols ability serves as an excellent means for protecting your valuable characters. Secondly, whether or not you've equipped your Lichguards with dispersion shields for extra survivability, they make excellent targets for your Canoptic Reanimators Nanoscarab reanimation beams to help keep them on the battlefield and killing your enemies for as long as possible. Well, a lot of that is true. They are quite good at protecting your characters, and they could benefit from the reanimation beam from the reanimator. However, so could a lot of other units. My main issue is that the box set already has the Skorpek Destroyers and the Skorpek Destroyer Lord in there, so we've got some melee units, and actually they're pretty good melee units. We've also got the murder buckets, the cryptothralls, to protect our cryptech that's in the set. So we don't necessarily need the Lichguard with the shields, although potentially you could protect some of the other characters. However, I feel we need more meat to this Indomitus set, some more core units, and personally I think that the best units to have, as opposed to the Lichguard, would actually be Wraiths. Now, I know Wraiths are still an assault unit, but I think they would complement the Skorpek Destroyers quite well because they have fast movement. Lichguard only move 5 inches, so you've got your movement to keep up with the Skorpek Destroyers. You have your 3+ invulnerable save to make them more survivable, and whilst we don't know what all of the new Wraith rules will be, I think it's quite a future-proof unit because, well, Wraiths haven't really changed that much over the years, and most importantly, they've always kept their 3+ invulnerable save. I would be very surprised if we lost that. So for me, I'm going to put Wraiths in this slot instead of Lichguard. Okay, so next up we've got Illuminor Szeras. Not only does Illuminor Szeras have an awesome new model, which he does, but his rules have been similarly buffed up from the previous incarnation. He's a serious force multiplier, able to use rites of reanimation twice each turn. Okay, Rites of Reanimation. That is not in his. I've got it right here. I'm flicking through it. That is not in his current data card. So maybe this is a new rule which is going to get in 9th edition, which will be very interesting because that means that the data card from Pariah is not going to be the same data card in the October Codex when it comes. Either that, it's a misprint, or maybe Rites of Reanimation is a stratagem and he has the ability to use it twice because he's a cryptech or something like that. As I said, we don't really know. However, reading on, and can apply permanent buffs to nearby units with his mechanical augmentation ability. Meanwhile, his Empric Overcharge can melt the brains of enemy psychers should they dare to tap into the warp in his presence. Regardless of your favoured army build, Szeras has a place within it. Now, going back to the Indomitus box set, well, we've already got 4 HQ units. In that set alone, we've got the Overlord, the Royal Warden, the Skorpek Lord, and the Plasmancer. Now, whilst I do think that cryptechs are very useful HQs for Necrons, I don't think I would say run out and get another HQ. You've got 4 HQs to play with there at the moment, and I think once again building up a core force would be more suited to expanding this set. Now, whether you get a standard cryptech at some point in the future with a cloak or just on foot, or you do get Illuminor Szeras with what potentially could be some very interesting rules coming for him, well, I think you'd actually be better off taking some more troops, and I'd actually say get some Immortals. Now, you could just go with more warriors. However, Immortals offer a little bit more than warriors in that, well, currently anyway, they have that 3+ save, and you can take a minimum unit of 5, which will help to keep the points down if you need to. With 2 different gun options to the warriors, the Gauss Blaster and the Tesla Carbines, well, we've got a lot of choices there, especially when you combine them with the warriors. Now, so far we haven't seen what the Tesla rule is going to be. Not a sniff about Tesla from Games Workshop. Everything is about a Gauss at the moment. Now, if you could hold off building your Immortals until the Codex drops, then that is an option. If you are able to magnetise the Immortals, then again, that is the option. It's very hard to say which gun is going to be best in the future. My gut instincts is that it's going to be Gauss, especially if we're going to be using the Sotek dynasty, and judging from what we've seen so far regarding the dynasties, the Sotek dynasty is going to be very good. Now, some of the other dynasty codes also look very good. However, I think that Immortals, regardless of which gun choice you go for, are going to be a better option to expand this set than Illuminor Szeras. But of course, Games Workshop are very keen to sell this model, and whilst out of stock on the website at the moment, they probably didn't know that when they made this article some time ago. Okay, so next they say destroyers, any of them. If you like your Necrons ultra violent and utterly without remorse, you'll no doubt be a big fan of your new Skorpek Lord and its murderous kin. With the introduction of these out-and-out melee specialists, the Destroyer cult is now a force to be reckoned with at every distance. Whether of the Skorpek or Lockhurst variety, destroyers work exceptionally well in conjunction with one another, even more so than when in the presence of their lords for re-rolls on hit and wound rolls of a 1. If you're after a hard-hitting core of deadly units, look to the Destroyer cult and they'll see you right, and your enemies very, very dead. The imposing new Lockhurst Destroyer shown above is coming soon. You'll also be able to pick up some additional Skorpek Destroyers shortly in the new starter sets. And of course, yes, the new starter sets, fantastic to see and great to see Necrons featured in those sets. Okay, so they're recommending destroyers, which, to be fair, I can't really argue with. I mean, it's the latest unit which is coming, and we've got new heavy destroyers and hopefully some new normal destroyers. The destroyer cult, I think, is going to be a thing. I think we're going to see armies built around destroyer units, both Skorpek and Lockhurst. However, those models aren't currently available, and there is another unit which I think could potentially go in this list instead of destroyers, and that would be Tomb Blades. Now, okay, we don't know what any of the rules are for Tomb Blades in the future, but Tomb Blades have always been a good fast unit, and I think speed in 9th edition is going to be a key thing. They also have some good gun options and some war gear options, so I think Tomb Blades will be a sound pick as well. So I'm actually going to agree with Games Workshop here, destroyers, but I'm going to say destroyers or Tomb Blades in my selection. Okay, so Games Workshop's next choice, the Tesseract Vault. Absolutely incredible miniature, check. Perfect candidate for a glorious centerpiece to a collection, check. Fires quantum space magic and mind bullets to the utter ruin of its enemies, check. Ladies and gentlemen, behold the Tesseract Vault. The defense rests. Well, no, I don't think the defense rests because, well, they do have a point. It is a great miniature. It does make a great centerpiece. Is it the right unit to expand your Indomitus box set? Absolutely not. This is not a model which I would recommend to a beginner. It's quite a tricky one to build. I'd highly recommend that you magnetise this model as well because it's an expensive model and it's nice to be able to use it as both options. You don't want to be buying two kits and building them in the two different options. I do have a tutorial on how to magnetise this particular model. I'll link that up in the description below. It's not exactly an easy model to magnetise, and whilst you could say that the obelisk isn't very good at the moment, and probably, to be fair, won't be very good in 9th edition, it's having a hard time at the moment, you could just build it as the Vault. However, Games Workshop do change things about, and I'm sure the obelisk will one day be good again, and then you're going to regret not magnetising your miniature. But in all seriousness, regardless of how cool the model is and how much of a centerpiece model it is, I really don't think it's the right model to expand the Indomitus box set. For me, personally, my next unit that I'm going to recommend is the Triarch Stalker. Now again, whilst we don't know what the new rules are going to be, I think the Triarch Stalker is a sound choice. It's a vehicle, and we know that 9th edition vehicles are going to be good. It's got 3 weapon options as it stands at the moment. One of those is a nice long-ranged gun, which is the gun I tend to take with the Triarch Stalker, and the gun which I think will suit the Indomitus set quite nicely. Again, it's a longer-ranged heavy-hitting gun, the twin heavy gauze cannon. So that would be my choice of units. The Doomsday Ark, Destroyers or Tomb Blades, Wraiths, Immortals, and the Triarch Stalker. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments box below. I always enjoy reading your thoughts. Now here are the magnetising tutorials which I talked about in the video, and here is my full 9th edition Necron playlist, which I'm sure you'll enjoy watching if you haven't seen it already. Beam me up!